What's going on, family? My name is Maurice F. Martin, and this is another episode of Today's Inspiration. Listen, today I have an award-winning guest on the show. Somebody who has been a singer, a counselor, a motivational speaker, future author, working on a book now, and somebody who I think's journey and kind of where they are in their journey is an important one to share. So without further ado, I'd like to bring my special guest, Maurice F. Martin. Hey, what's going on? I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, I mean, it's just great to be a guest today. I feel like there's some good insight, some good wisdom I might be able to impart to everybody. So yeah, just thanks for taking the time to do this today. I appreciate it. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, we can hear you just fine, man. So let's just jump right in then. So we had kind of had a conversation about what could be important this week, and there's kind of some important anniversaries this week that we're celebrating. So I guess could you get into a little bit of why was this an important week for you to be a guest on the show, and what is it that you really wanted to get into? Yeah, absolutely. An important week for sure. Yesterday was my aunt's birthday. She passed away of cancer, and then today my brother's birthday. And so I just thought that it was important to get on the camera, kind of honor their lives a little bit and celebrate them. Not only the impact that they had for me in their life, but also the impact that they've had for me in their death. I feel like I have grown a lot as a person, but I've also had to really learn a lot about grief. There's some things in my past I hadn't grieved that I thought I had. And so my life in many ways has come full circle. I feel a lot healthier now. But I would also say that this kind of has brought to light the need for people to talk more about what grief really looks like in real life, what it's like to be stuck kind of in the middle of it, where at the beginning maybe you have a lot of support, and you have a lot of people asking you how are you and asking you how that process is going. At some point people kind of, I guess, they lose sight of the fact that grief still exists, and birthdays and anniversaries and all these different things, they still trigger something in your mind and something in your heart. And so I just felt like that this is an important thing to discuss today because it's fresh and it's relevant, and maybe it could help somebody else. Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's so important that sometimes we share in the middle of the journey. Um, People don't always talk about the middle of the journey. They talk about the beginning of the journey. They mourn out loud, but it's almost like at some point, um, I guess mourning becomes taboo, and you're supposed to get over things, and you're supposed to not be dealing with things anymore. Um, so take a person who's really going through real life situations, and they're feeling guilty about their mourning, or they're feeling lost in it. How does a person get through that? How does a person truly mourn from their heart and do it in a healthy way? And how do they know that they're actually growing through that grief? I like that you use the word growing through, because when you said get over it, man, isn't that how so many people look at grief? They tell you that at some point you're just supposed to get over things. You're supposed to get over the sadness. You're supposed to get over the anger. You're supposed to get over the discomfort. It's almost like people think that because now that they're uncomfortable hearing about what you're going through, that also now means that you're supposed to be through it all. And that's just not realistic. For me, I have found that it's when I really deal with whatever emotion I'm in. There are stages to grief, and each stage has its own level of frustration, its own level of anxiety that comes through, its own level of depression. Each stage just has its own challenges. And what makes it harder, and this is something people don't talk about a whole lot, sometimes you're grieving more than one thing at one time. So in other words, you can be grieving, the loss of a person while at the same time grieving the loss of a job. Sometimes it's grieving the loss of a season of your life, or friendships that have gone away. There are so many things that we grieve. Sometimes we just grieve time, the fact that we've lost time, maybe squandered time being confused, or just being stressed out. And so it's so hard when you grieve more than one thing at a time, and you don't know exactly how to feel because you feel everything and nothing all at once. And I think one of the real keys to getting through your grief, it has to do with finding gratitude in your grief. When I find a way to just be thankful for the people I've had in my life, thankful for the moments that I've had in my life, even though those very moments may bring me tears, may bring me agony. I still cry about the death of my brother. It's still as raw today as if he passed away yesterday, and he died in 2016. His picture is always on my desk. It's always a reminder that, hey, I have to live for you, and you still live in me. And so I try to find a way to be grateful for him, grateful for my Aunt Sandra, grateful for the things in my life that I've lost, because all of those experiences, they've taught lessons. They've taught me really, really deep lessons, and what I would say are important lessons too. That's so good. I heard you say gratitude through your grief. Now, some people who are grieving situations, they are not really sure how to find gratitude in that grief. Could you break that concept down a little bit more? Talk about it from your perspective, maybe in your life. How does a person really find gratitude through the things that they're going through? I mean, I think, first of all, it's important to define what I mean by gratitude. Obviously, I don't mean you're supposed to just be like thrilled and excited that you've lost something or lost someone in your life. That's not what I mean by gratitude. For me, I'm very spiritually grounded, and I look to Jesus for everything. Scripture says, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. I hate it when people say everything happens for a reason. I don't know if that's true. It's not in the Bible. But I do know that God can use everything for your good. And so, if I think about my grief, if I think about the things in my life that have driven me crazy, if I think about the things and the people I've lost, I try to say, well, God, I'm heartbroken that my brother didn't live longer, but man, I'm so grateful that, the things that he taught me. I'm so grateful for the ways that he touched my life, or the ways that he showed me strength. I'm happy for the role that he played in my life, because he gives me strength even today, because I knew him. And that bit of gratitude, it makes me a healthier person. When I think about my Aunt Sandra, she was battling with cancer, and I was in the midst of the beginning of my spiritual journey, and I started texting her on the phone saying, I was praying, and I heard Holy Spirit start speaking to me, and this is what I heard. And she just kept saying, okay, go deeper. Okay, you heard more. I'm proud of you. Now go farther. He has more for you. And she just kept pushing me, and she kept pushing me. And even though she was weak in her body, she was so strong in her spirit that she made me stronger in my spirit. I'm not doing a channel. I'm not online. I'm not writing a book. I'm not doing the things that I'm doing if Erwin doesn't love me the way he did. If Aunt Sandra didn't love me and care for me the way she did, I'm not doing the things I'm doing. And so when I think of that, it's that kind of a gratitude that helps me evolve as a person. It helps me to grow and mature. I love in James when it talks about how the things that you go through in your life, they are tests of your faith, and the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and it's through that perseverance that matures you so that you're not lacking anything. And I can see that in my own life. I mean, I'm far from perfect, but I see how God is using the things I've been through in my life to mature me, to grow me, and to help me evolve as a man, so that I can be a better husband, a better father, a better counselor, a better coach, a better speaker, a better musician. I want to be better every day. And I feel like because of what I've lost, because of the things that hurt me, scar me, they're constant reminders that today is a blessing and today is a gift. And I think that's what's helping me to grow the way that he intends for me to grow, not just the way that I feel like growing.
All right, now that we started to get into that whole concept of evolving, let's talk a little bit about something that kind of went on in a meeting we had yesterday. We had, kind of a group of people on. It was actually a tremendous meeting. It was like 18, 20 people. And we were talking a little bit about that evolution. You mentioned something in the meeting. You talked about grieving things that are prehistoric as a part of your evolution. I think that's something that the audience really needs to hear about. So break that down. What was that concept? What does it mean to be grieving through a prehistoric issue in your life?
Yeah, when I say a prehistoric issue, here's what I mean. When I think about evolution, like me personally, I think about things that have died and become fossils. Like when I think about evolution, I think about dinosaurs and pterodactyls and stuff, right? When I think about evolution, I think about survival of the fittest. So in my brain, evolution makes me think about something that existed. And because that thing existed, then something else grew out of it, but it in its own form oftentimes went away. One of the biggest ways that we grieve, it's not just that we grieve what we evolved from into what we evolve into. Sometimes we grieve what we thought the last season of our life would be. So in other words, at the beginning of a new season, at the beginning of a new relationship, at the beginning of a new job, the beginning of a new ministry, when you start something new, there is this excitement. There is this this building up of love and joy and just anticipation for whatever it is you're about to walk into. And sometimes, not only do I have to grieve the last season of my life if it didn't go well, but I have to grieve the death of the image I thought would be the season, or the image of what I thought would be the thing. So all of my hope for this season is so high. All of my excitement for how this thing is going to be is so high. And now things don't go well and things don't pan out, and that season dies away. And not only am I grieving the loss of the season, I'm grieving my hope. It's not just the history, it's the pre-history. I was counseling someone the other day, and they're a person who had just ended a marriage. And I said, you may have to have a conversation with the you who fell in love with the person you just left. That person who was excited, who was daydreaming about how beautiful marriage would be, that person who was so just geeked and full of enjoyment for like everything that she thought she was going to live, that person is still on the inside of you. And sometimes you not only have to grieve the death of the relationship, but you have to grieve everything that you anticipated about the relationship. Because that person, the heartbroken one, the disappointed one, they're still inside of you. And if you don't let them heal, then they kind of like follow you around. They live on the inside of you, but you almost feel haunted by them. It's the ghost of Christmas past and the ghost of Christmas present, right? It's the ghost of a life lost. And so sometimes I have to grieve my history, and I have to grieve the pre-history. Hopefully that makes sense to you.
All right, I know you are at the office, so I know you're going to have to start your shift soon. So before we go, just a couple more quick questions, and then I will let you go in peace. So the first thing is, what can we expect from you on this channel moving forward? What are you bringing to the table, or I guess a better question, what are you attempting to bring to the table as we move forward?
Yeah, I mean, so on the channel. I guess the biggest thing, man, is I'm just trying to keep evolving. I'm trying to keep growing. I'm trying to have enough courage to say the things that I hear that I'm supposed to be saying in prayer. So in other words, this is a deeply spiritual experience for me doing today's inspiration. I sit down and I say, God, what do you want the people to hear? What do you want the people to know? And I try to come from a place of not only wisdom as a counselor and perspective as a counselor and a coach and a speaker, but also what I believe is what people who are hurting and reeling really need for mental health, spiritual health, physical health in their life. The next series that we're going to be starting is called Courageous Faith. That's going to launch probably the first week of next month. And with Courageous Faith, the goal is going to be to tell people, how do you find the courage from deep down within to follow what Jesus is putting in your life and what Jesus is calling you to? It's something that I've been hearing a lot in my prayer time, and I've kind of seen it discussed from some of the big prophetic experts of the world, right? I really believe that Jesus is about to be using, how do I say this? People who are unqualified. So in other words, I think that there are a bunch of people who on paper are not qualified to be leaders, who are about to come forth as leaders because Jesus can use anyone. I think it's about to be people who are new faces, who have new perspectives, who have to really, really walk in faith and walk with the courage that Jesus says to have in order for them to become what it is they were born to become. I always loved where Jesus is walking on the water and everybody on the boat is panicked and they're freaked out. And he says, take courage. It is I. Take courage. To me, when I read that, and every time I read that, I see him saying that courage is something that can literally be taken. Courage is an action that can be acquired. Courage is something that you can go get. And so I want people who are called according to his purpose to take courage, knowing that if he's given you the assignment, he's equipped you for it. And so that's going to be the next season that I'm going to be getting into, is going to be specifically how to build and use your courage.
Awesome. So the audience, we have heard it here first. Courageous Faith, the series coming soon. And I think that, what you just said was so good, that it's anytime that we can lead from our heart, and instead of just kind of leading from your head. In DBT, they talk about the importance of the wise mind, where it's when your mind and your heart link up in the middle, that's where people really have progress and growth. And so if you are presenting from a wise place, a place of wisdom that comes not only from the wisdom within, but also from the wisdom that comes from up there, I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this journey is all about learning and growing every day. The goal is to be just a little bit better at the end of a Tuesday than you were at the beginning of the Tuesday. And if I grow just a little bit every day. But I also have to remember the scripture says, I actually have it back there. I don't know if you can see it on the wall, but trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So even though I'm trying to learn as much as I can, and I'm reading books, and I'm watching the experts, and I'm studying all the time, I also can't just simply lean on my own intellect, because there's more to this journey than just what you can perceive in front of you. There's also the things you can't see that impact your life and impact your life. And so I try to lean on God. I try to lean on spirituality. And so it's about not only the wisdom of what I can acquire from my hard work, because we know that faith without works is dead, but it's also the wisdom of what I can glean from my personal relationship with God that means everything to me. And I'm trying to be led that way, because in the end, I believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. So I want to make sure that I'm walking in his path, not just walking in Maurice's path.
All right, all right. So last question, last question. So is there anything else that you just want people to hear, you want people to know? How can people find you on social media? How can people find you, outside of this channel? And what is the message that you just really want to get across to people as they're watching you today, kind of getting a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, on you and your life and your journey? What else is it that you think is important to share today?
I mean, I guess I just think it's important to share, first of all, how much I appreciate people even tuning into the channel. I literally got a text message this morning from somebody who said, hey, watching videos in the morning of today's inspiration, like literally gives me inspiration in my life. And that meant something to me. I'm not doing this for me. I don't make videos for my personal gain, because there's no personal gain. It's not like I'm making money from it. It's not like I'm getting famous from it. I'm trying to make the difference that I believe I'm supposed to make. And so every person who tunes in, who gives an episode an opportunity, every person who hits share, who hits like, who hits comment, who leaves a comment, I just appreciate all of it. And that's something that I'd want people to know. Outside of that, I just would have to say, be courageous. Be courageous. There are so many beautiful people that I meet every day. Some of them are battling mental health issues. Some of them are in the midst of recovery. Some of them are leading silent wars where they seem like they have it all together. They have great jobs. They make great money. They have a beautiful family, live in a great home. But the battle and the war that rages on the inside it's just so intense. And I just say, take courage to you. Trust in the power of Jesus, trust in the power of God, trust in the power of prayer, and then trust in the process. If you are in recovery and you're working your steps, you're going to AA, NA, you're reading books, you're going to a therapist, you're going to a counselor, you have a rocky marriage and you're going to marriage counseling and pastoral counseling. Maybe it's none of those things, but you're just in a series of your life where you're about to do something great, but it's going to cost you something. Take courage. Take courage. Embrace the process of moving into this next level of your life. And lastly, in terms of where people can find me, obviously, the YouTube channel, they can find me on all social media. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Maurice F. Martin. Other things that they can look forward to. So this week, I'm spending more time working on the end of my book. So this is, one draft of it. So I don't know how many drafts I'm going to need to do. But I am working on just wrapping up the book, hopefully in the next 2 weeks or so that I can kind of move everything in my life to the next level. And I feel like the book has a lot of important things that people need to hear. So that's it. That's all I would have to share. Just thank you for having me on the channel. I appreciate it.
Man, I just thank you so much. Thank you so much for your honesty today. Thank you so much for just coming on and just giving some what I consider to be fresh perspective. I have no idea what you said, but I have a feeling that you added some real insight. So I guess we'll leave you with this. Thank you so much for jumping on today. For everybody who's had a chance to watch, I hope that you got something out of this. Please leave a comment down below if there's any follow-up questions that you've thought of. Please make sure that you hit like and that you hit share. YouTube is very driven by likes, shares, and comments. And so in order to help spread this channel even more before the kickoff of the Courageous Faith series, I hope that you will just hit subscribe, send this channel to some new subscribers, and that we can really build this thing. So with that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you grew a little bit today. And just remember, the air that is moving through your lungs, the blood that is rushing through your veins, they're the greatest gifts that we get. It's the proof that you're still here with a chance to get it right and that God is not done with you yet. My name is Maurice F. Martin. His name is Maurice F. Martin. And this has been another episode of Today's Inspiration.